Under the sea. Under the sea. Welcome back, S'mores. We're jumping in the ocean, and we're taking a trip to an ocean. I don't know. I don't know which ocean. It's an ocean. Yeah, we've had a lot of good summer themes going on. We were in the Bahamas, and then we went camping, and now we're back to a beach vacation where we're searching for something. It's not pirate treasure. It's not the Bermuda Triangle. We're looking for something that's been lost for thousands of years. And that would be what, Stephen?
Yeah, that would be the lost city of Atlantis. That's right. We are going under the sea, as Will said, and we are going to talk about the origins of Atlantis, who talked about it in history, whether it actually existed, and whether it could still possibly be a thriving underwater society today. So,
Yeah.
we'll get into
Well,
history, we'll get into the characters. Will, what were you about to say just now?
I was about to say that technically, if Futurama's right, Steven's living in Atlantis right now. Have you seen that episode or heard of that episode?
I have not, no.
So in Futurama, they because the show takes place like 3,000 years in the future.
Sure, yeah.
So or not
Oh,
3,000. It takes place in the year 3,000.
what?
The show takes so basically, do you know the premise of Futurama?
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, at one point, Atlanta wanted to actually be an ocean city. So they
that's
picked
right.
up Atlanta,
Okay.
they plopped in the ocean, and eventually something happened and it sank. So Atlanta became Atlantis.
I was joking with me and Will are in this group chat called Bestiarchy. I don't know if you saw this, Will, but someone was joking about, oh, you all might as well live in Atlantis with how far you all. And I was just like, change Atlantis to Atlanta, and
Well, now,
but yeah, it is kind of funny how those two cities have a similar name.
yeah, but it was really hilarious because in the episode, like, Fry, the main character was like, Atlantis is just an airport. And then like this mermaid who lived down there, she's like, "We're more than an airport. We've got a Coca-Cola plant. We got the aquarium. We've got the Brave Stadium. We're more than an airport."
I'm gonna have to go watch that episode because that is really hilarious to
Oh,
me.
it was a great episode. It's on Hulu if you want to go watch it.
Okay, I might have to go check that out.
So
Um,
yeah, we're talking about Atlantis, not Atlanta, Atlantis.
Atlantis, yeah. I think I love Atlanta. Well, don't dox me, but I live somewhat close to that city, and yeah, I went to college there, and man, I'm really just feeding people's ability to dox me. But but yeah, it's a great city, right? And yeah, I'm an Atlanta fan, but if we were doing an episode on Atlanta, I think you guys would be bored, even though I would be very entertained. So,
I don't even know if there's anything really to talk about with Atlanta.
but I got my One Piece pirate hat on because we are going into the sea. I got
Glad
my
you did.
baby shirt. So, all right, grab your snorkeling gear, grab your scuba gear because we are gonna dive right in. So,
I really like when you didn't bring it out for the Luska. I was very happy, but you brought it
I
back.
I thought about it, but I was like, I'll save it
I
for.
have I have nightmares about these episodes.
All right, S'mores, let's get into it. Imagine an island larger than Libya, larger than Asia combined, full of gold, elephants, temples, and advanced technology. Then one day, gone, swallowed by the sea in a single day and a night of destruction. We are talking about the legendary city of Atlantis, a story that has haunted countless historians, mystics, and UFO researchers for over 2,000 years.
Oh,
But is it a myth? Or was there really an advanced civilization known as Atlantis at one point in time? We will discuss the lore, the history, and at the end, we'll do a ChatGPT story about me and Will visiting Atlantis before finally giving our final thoughts. So, Will, any thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns?
When you were talking about like it's an advanced technology and all this, you know what all I thought about was
Mm-hmm. What was that?
Wakanda forever.
I haven't seen Black Panther 2, but I think they fight like an aquatic race in
Mm.
Black Panther 2, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I have not seen Black Panther 1, so
Oh, you haven't? Okay. I really liked Black Panther 1. I haven't seen Black Panther 2. RIP, RIP Chadwick Boseman. So, I really didn't have the heart to watch it after he passed away. But I heard it's good. So maybe I'll watch it one day just because they fight like aqua people that apparently live in Atlantis or something. So, okay, here we go. Atlantis. So, the very first mention we get of Atlantis is by the philosopher Plato. So, Plato mentions Atlantis and he tells a tale of how Atlantis was a beautiful, thriving society with gold everywhere, giant statues, hundreds of feet tall, of Greek gods, of noble people, of politicians, how it had advanced running water systems to purify ocean water so that people had clean running water. They had these elaborate baths full of clean water and marble and stone and jewelry everywhere. And I'll have to send you a TikTok because I think someone made a TikTok of like an AI generated TikTok of what Atlantis looked like. Just gorgeous place, like
yeah.
gold streets, people wearing their Roman robes, abundant food and fruits, just like a very, very beautiful city. Um, Now, here's where Plato tells the story. He warns it of a tale of corruption and indulgence. So when he talks about Atlantis, he said it was thriving, it was full of wealth and power. But he said what they did is they got really indulgent, they ate a lot of food, they took a lot of money. And then he said they got too big for their britches and they tried to invade the city of Athens. Now, if you know anything about Athens, it was a city, and I'm not talking about Athens, Georgia. So for you Eugene
Man,
Bulldog fans,
this is sounding like a knockoff, like Georgia's a knockoff of Greece, like Atlantis, Atlanta,
I know.
Athens.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Georgia references today. But yeah, for you Georgia Bulldog fans that want to bark at the mention of Athens, no, this isn't Athens, Georgia. This is Athens, Rome, right? So no whoop, whoop, or anything like that. So
I hate that bark.
oh, dude, maybe I
Back to
shouldn't
my
have
nightmares.
barked. I found this out the other day. So apparently, there's a small segment of society that gets turned on by hearing people bark. And so sometimes people are live streaming and like the gooners will be on their laptops and they'll be like, "Oh, bark for us, daddy. Give us a bark." And yeah, anyway, so
Well, I know
maybe
who I'm messaging after this episode.
yeah, maybe I shouldn't have barked just now, but anyway.
Oh my god. I know who I'm messaging after this
I
episode.
I digress. Haley's gonna have fun making this.
Anyways, Atlanteans invading Athens, Rome, not Athens, Georgia.
Right. So
Good lord.
again, Plato warns of Atlantis as being a cautionary tale of being indulgent and being too big for your britches, and so they invade Athens. They get their butts kicked, and eventually the society gets weakened. It crumbles, and what the Greek gods, as a judgment for Atlantis invading Athens, the Greek gods, specifically Poseidon, sends earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes to ground the city. The city sinks into the ocean, and it's never heard from again. That's Plato's account of Atlantis. So here's the question: was Plato talking about a real society in history, or was this a story that he made up? There's two sides of the equations. I'll get into that in just a second. But so far, Will, what are your thoughts?
I mean, like I could see that because I think like with some of the Greek stuff, like there is inspiration from real life that kind of carries into it. Um, to like for them to make up the stories and the legends and stuff. I think there might be some truth to some of them, and that they could have inspired these stories. I do think it's kind of funny that you know they lost. They tried to invade Athens and then they lost. And then I think there could have been something that happened, like actual tsunamis and stuff. Maybe it just wasn't a curse, but it just happened to line up at the same time. And Plato's like, oh, well, you know what? That just wasn't natural at all. That was God. That was Poseidon. You know.
Yeah, for sure. So most historians seem to believe that Plato made up the society, that he was talking kind of just philosophically or in a fable, that there really
Mhm.
wasn't an Atlantis. Here's the thing that's curious to me, though, and here's where maybe it does exist. Plato writes about Atlantis twice. He writes about it in his dialogues, one called Timaeus and the other one Critias. And he gives a specific date. So he's writing in around 360 BC. He says that Atlantis existed in 9600 BC. He gives a specific date for when this civilization existed. The date is especially intriguing to me because it predates all known existing advanced civilizations by thousands of years, and it also eerily aligns with the last ice age, when massive floods and climate shifts reshaped the coastline.
Hmm.
That's not something Plato would have known, right? He wouldn't have known about
No.
scientifically, he wouldn't have known about when the ice age happened or the weather events it caused. And yet, the date he gives aligns with when those things might have happened.
Huh. Yeah,
So, yeah,
that adds some suspicion.
yeah. I'll talk about this on Beyond the Bible. I'm personally a young Earth creationist.
Yeah.
I know Will is too. However, there are some young Earth creationists that believe that the Earth is 10,000 years old,
Yeah.
not millions of years old. And so, I mean, 9,600 BC kind of maybe fits a little
Yeah.
bit. Who knows,
Beyond the
right?
Bible, real quick crossover. Could the flood have taken out Atlantis?
It's really funny that you mentioned that because that's actually one of the theories, which I'll get to in a second. But
Yeah. Because
uh,
I mean I'm just kind of course we'll get to theories and I can kind of I'll dive more into what I have. I'm thinking with Atlantis when we get to theories.
yeah, for sure. So Plato's the first one to really mention the society. And again, for really hundreds of years after that, people were wondering, was this a real place? Was Plato pulling this out of his
Right.
butt? Uh, so obviously, you're going to need more than just Plato to confirm whether something like this existed, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so let's get into some of the other people that talked about it. So after Plato, people become very fascinated with this idea of Atlantis. A lot of people write about it as if they believed that Plato was right and that it actually existed. So when some of the writers in the centuries following Plato write about Atlantis, they're not just saying, "Oh, Plato is making this up." They're saying, "Hey, Plato was onto something. There's this civilization, there's this
Mhm.
civilization." So Plato could possibly be talking about a
Yeah.
real society. Now, this was a debate. Ancient peoples debated which civilization was the Atlantis that Plato was talking about, and so we'll get into some of the theories about what that is. But real quick, any thoughts, comments, or questions so far?
No, I mean, I think it's so. Plato was the guy who first brought out the idea of Atlantis, and then everybody else has kind of followed suit, and like the story might have changed or might have added this or added this. So, yeah,
Exactly,
yeah, I'm tracking.
exactly. All right, so let's continue. So probably the most popular theory was that Atlantis was actually the ancient civilization of Minoa, also called Thera or Santorini. The Minoans lived on two islands, the island of Crete, which is actually mentioned in the Bible, and Santorini. both of which were real advanced island nations. Now, they existed in 1600 BC, so Plato's timeline, if he was actually talking about the Minoans, his timeline is pretty off if it was
Yeah.
the Minoans. However, the Minoan civilization did fall when around 1600 BC, a volcanic eruption destroyed much of the island of Thera that triggered tsunamis and caused societal collapse.
Huh.
Some people think that this fall of Minoa is what got passed around later, and but that by the time Plato heard about it, that was what the inspiration was for Atlantis, whether he
Yeah.
taught it or not. So that's the most popular theory. It's funny. So the island of Crete, Paul visits it at one point. I actually believe it's the. I could be wrong, but I think Crete is where the Apostle Paul landed. He was bitten by a snake. The Cretans said, "Oh, he's a sinner. He's going to die." But then he didn't die, and then they changed their mind, and then they said the Apostle Paul is a god because he
Mhm.
got bit by a poisonous snake and didn't die. Um, um, I think this is also a funny thing. Paul is writing about the Cretans later, and he
Yeah.
said all Cretans are lazy and brutish, and this saying is trustworthy.
Ah.
so
Yep. The island of Crete is mentioned in the Bible in both the Book of Acts and the Epistle of Titus.
yeah,
Um,
Titus is who he mentions it to. Now he's actually sending Titus to become a pastor in Crete. So I don't think he was roasting the Cretans necessarily when he was saying that. I think he was just saying that they need discipleship. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
but
because it says here the Book of Titus provides insights into the challenges faced by early Christians in Crete, including a culture known for liars, evil beasts, and lazy gluttons.
right,
Damn.
right.
All right.
So if the island of Crete did have Atlantis on it at one point, my, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
You know.
It used to be these really cool people, and now they're beasts and gluttons and liars.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the island of Crete and Thera that had the Minoan civilization, that's the most popular theory.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say the next five theories very quickly. And I'm grouping them together because these are kind of fringe theories. These are people just kind of guessing based on some similarities. So they're much smaller. The Minoan theories is the most popular one. But here are the other five. So one is that Atlantis was on an island near Spain,
Mm-hmm.
as there are ruins near Donana National Park. And Donana National Park, the ruins there actually do match a lot of Plato's descriptions of how he described Atlantis. So
Huh.
you have the marble pillars. The gold is gone, thieves or whatnot, but there's
Yeah.
evidence that there was a lot of treasure on that island that seems to match Plato's description. So the island near Donana National Park near Spain is another popular theory.
Mm-hmm.
Theory number three, there is the Azores Island, which is in the mid-Atlantic, because Atlantis was believed to have been in the Atlantic Ocean. So many believers believe that a transatlantic super civilization once existed in that part, which again would match Atlantis. And Antarctica. So some
Huh.
people once believed Antarctica had no ice on it, and that Atlantis was on Antarctica, and that the site froze over. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Some people believe it was in the Caribbean or the Bahamas. There's a place in the Bahamas called Bimini Road, and below Bimini Road, you have a lot of underwater ruins that suggest that a very advanced civilization was there at one point.
Yeah. I've heard of the road.
Mhm. And then the last one is Sudanaland in Indonesia. There's a lot of submerged land bridges there,
Mm-hmm.
but that's also the origin of a lot of ancient flood narratives. So the people that live there have been telling the story of a worldwide flood for thousands of years. which is interesting because again, if you're a Christian, like me and Will are, you know that in the book of Genesis there's a story of a worldwide flood, and
Yep.
so it's kind of interesting that the people in Sudanland also tell the story of an ancient worldwide flood. So, Will, anything you think I might have missed in terms of the history
No,
of?
I think you hit it all. I mean, I think because there's probably there's so many stories out there. I think of Atlantis. Like I think there's even that Disney movie. Um, I think there is. There's a Disney movie.
Yes, yes, there is.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
Oh,
lot that
is that what you're talking about?
what?
Treasure Planet?
No, I'm talking about Atlantis, the movie.
Oh, oh, it literally is called Atlantis. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The movie and Treasure Planet are similar, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's a Disney movie called Atlantis.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like I think there's so many theories that who knows? Maybe we've found it already. Maybe it's like you said, it's in Donanan National Park. Maybe it is the Bimini Road and the Bahamas. Maybe Plato just took inspiration from a couple other lost civilizations that we actually know about and just wrote a story. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm I'm going to talk about the pre-civilization civilization before the Noahic flood and beyond the Bible. So a lot of beyond the Bible promotion today.
Yeah, because
Um,
see that was the thing I was going to say was because like obviously I'm not going to like this is beyond the Bible. This is beyond the campfire. This is beyond the Bible. I mean, we might take like a slight Christian viewpoint at some things, but I feel like a lot of times I'm probably not going to do that. But I feel like the Christian viewpoint is, if you really wanted to kind of pull beyond the Bible into this, we talk about how part of the reason why God flooded the earth was because, the fallen angels came to earth and they were mating with humans and creating Nephilims, and they were teaching us things we shouldn't have known.
and I was going to say,
And that plays into kind of my theory of, if Atlantis truly was real, I think it was before the biblical flood. And I think the reason why they were so advanced was because the angels were telling them things to do, and then God didn't like that. And so when the flood happened, that civilization was wiped out.
yeah,
If it was before the flood. Now, could there have been a civilization after the flood? I don't know.
sure, sure.
Who knows?
Um, you make a really good point because that's actually one of the most popular theories for people that believe in Atlantis is that it was a civilization which had Nephilim in it, which is why it was so prosperous. It was a civilization that had Nephilim in it, and that's why it was so prosperous. And yeah, really, if you're someone that believes in the biblical narrative and you believe there was advanced civilizations before the
Mm-hmm.
flood happened and they basically got wiped out. I mean, Atlantis by and large fits a lot of the descriptions. Like, let me read some of the. This is how Plato describes Atlantis in his book Critias. He says it's a land that's a circle. It had concentric rings of land and water, like a bullseye. So like there would be some land,
Mm-hmm.
then there'd be water, then there'd be land again, then water. And it's kind of making a bullseye. It had a central acropolis with temples, palaces, a royal dwelling. There's massive canals, bridges, docks, which connected everything. And again, the architecture was ornate. They had red, black, white, gold stones. Just a really gorgeous place. And it's just like, well, how were they building these things? How were they building the vast
Yeah, that's where
public,
like
right? Mm-hmm.
that's where you got to come in the question of like we said like if you take a Christian point of view, it makes a lot of sense that Atlantis would have been before the flood and all this. But obviously, we also want to look at it through another lens of like, if you take out the flood and everything, could Atlantis still have existed? I don't know. I do think that's a question I think we'll ask a lot of times on here, and we'll talk about it when there's these lost civilizations. There's these powerful empires we used to know about. I can't remember if it was the Aztecs, the Incas, or something, but they were this mighty empire and they just fell off the face of the earth.
Right.
So the question of could Atlantis have been just another one of these civilizations that was after the flood? We take the flood out of the equation, that was after the flood, and they just rose up so powerfully that could they have just fallen naturally, like just some tsunami or something. So I guess it's a question of, could Atlantis have existed? And if it truly did exist, where are the ruins today?
Exactly.
Is it the place in Spain? Because when I'm looking here at the pictures of the place in Spain, it is the bullseye. I mean, there's this bullseye and everything to fit the description. Um,
Right. And Spain would have been within sailing distance of where Plato lived, right?
exactly.
He's basing the story off of the Atlantis of reports of sailors coming in, or possibly like, maybe even something he's kind of seen himself. Spain kind
Right.
of as a location.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I truly do not know where Atlantis could be. I could tell you that I don't know.
Sure. Uh,
If it existed, I don't know where it could be. It's definitely not the Bahamas, and it's definitely not a water park.
I definitely don't think it's Antarctica either.
No, Antarctica doesn't make a. You want to know the reason why there's the Antarctica theory?
Was that?
So I watched the show Stargate, and Haley,
Okay.
obviously our editor, knows about Stargate, because we talked about it. But one of my favorites, because there's like it start off with this show. They start off with a movie with actually Kurt Russell in it. Then it became a TV series, and then after the TV series, they had like another season, kind of like another show start in between,
Sure.
and it was called Stargate Atlantis. So the thought behind Stargate was that there's this group of ancients who built these portal devices that could travel between dimensions. And what they found out was that Atlantis was actually like a city that was a spaceship that was actually in Antarctica. And they actually, because the idea that the ancients had was they wanted to populate every galaxy, they actually took the ship of the city and flew it to another galaxy.
Oh wow, very
and then
interesting.
it and then they went to war with this other race. When they went to war, they actually had to sink the city so that the other race couldn't find it and get all the technology. So it played a lot into the theories that Atlantis was a sunken city and in Antarctica at one point. So
Well, hey, I guess you kind of already given your theory about whether you think it exists or not. My theory is I think Plato probably referenced something that he maybe knew vaguely about, but I don't think he really had the. I think he kind of had the details that he thought existed. I do think Atlantis probably exists. Maybe it wasn't called Atlantis. Maybe it wasn't exactly like how we described it. But as far as advanced civilizations before the flood, before the great flood that Noah was in, yeah, I absolutely believe those advanced civilizations existed. I absolutely believe that there were Nephilim that had knowledge that we as humans no longer have, and that these Nephilim were creating these amazing things, and all of it got wiped away when God poured out His wrath on the earth. So,
yeah.
Okay. With all that said, I'm going to pull up our Chat GPT story. But can you any last minute thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns before I dive right in?
None that I can think of.
Alrighty. Without further ado, let's get into the story.
I
Um,
can.
so I'll say this last thing before I read the story. So you believe it's in Spain, right?
I think that's the thing. I
That
don't know.
the one.
I think looking at the Spain one, the Spain ruins look very close to what Plato described. I could be wrong though. It could be the Bahamas. It could be anywhere. I don't know.
Sure.
But the Spain, looking at it, because like when you were talking about the Spain one, I did look at the Spain one, and the Spain one looked very close to what they were saying Atlantis could have looked like.
Right. Okay, here we go. The story is called "The Day Atlantis Died." The Watchers Below. All right. Um, the museum basement pulsed with electric stillness. Will tilted his hat at the glowing artifact, a spiral-shaped disc, warm to the eye, cold to the soul. Stephen looked uneasy. It feels old, older than Babel, older than Egypt. Will cracked a grin. Only one way to find out. The artifact throbbed with light, and the world folded. They landed on a stone bridge overlooking the city of impossible geometry, Atlantis. Where are we? Stephen said. How did we get here? The sky shimmered with twin suns. A breeze like electricity ran through polished groves and floating aqueducts. The air smelled of citrus, seawater, and something strange, something unnatural. Will looked around slowly. This ain't just ancient, it's wrong. Stephen pointed to the people, tall, regal, with eyes too bright, too old. Will, do you see how big they are? He exclaimed. They weren't giants exactly, but they were tall, unnaturally tall, 8 to 9 feet, glowing faintly under the skin. Their arms were adorned with silver bands etched with constellations. The language sounded musical. They turned and looked at Will. I don't like this, Will muttered. They're not human. In the heart of the city, a large temple loomed, the Temple of Poseidon. Stephen noticed something carved deeper into the foundation. A golden plaque read, "To the watchers below, sons of the sky, kings of the deep." His eyes widened. Will, Genesis 6, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful. Will raised an eyebrow. You think these people are Nephilim?
Oh boy.
Stephen nodded. Or what's left of them. Inside the temple, they saw it all. Crystal technology, maps full of constellations. At the center, a levitating spear flashed with images. Earth, stars, a vast chasm beneath the sea, ringed with ruins. They've built something down here, Stephen said. It's not just a power source. It's a prison. And something's waking up. That night, a young boy with bright, sad eyes found them. He spoke plainly. They were meant to guard wisdom, but they gave it for worship. They taught men forbidden things, charms, iron blades, and naming stars that are not ours. Who? Stephen said. The Watchers, the boy said. My ancestors, angels and demons alike. They fell, and now the sea will take them and their descendants, their children.
Oh boy.
Outside, the earth groaned. Suddenly, lightning split the sky. The Nephilim priests gathered on towers, chanting in tongues that shook the air. But it was too late. The canals erupted. Fires raged. The glowing sphere in the temple cracked, and the sea opened its mouth. Will and Stephen ran to a city crumbling in judgment. They saw giant forms drowning, arms stretched toward heaven as buildings collapsed. One looked straight at Will and Stephen through the rising flood. His voice entered into their minds. You weren't supposed to see this.
Oh boy.
The boy appeared again. Use dependence. Now. With a flash, the world folded. And suddenly, Will and Stephen were back in the museum. The golden pendant they had, sparking with blue electricity before, now went dark. Still. That night, Stephen couldn't sleep. He opened to Genesis chapter 6. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were heroes of old, men of renown. Stephen called Will. Will sleepily woke up. What do you want? Stephen said, men called them gods, but really they were only rebels, and God washed them away. Will blinked sleepily and said, you know, I think you're right. Stephen asked Will softly, do you really think we went to Atlantis today? Will sighed and responded slowly, who knows, man? But wherever we are, it was ancient, evil, and I'm glad those things don't exist anymore. The end.
Look at that, dude. I felt like all I can think about was like the Magic Tree House. Remember the Magic Tree
Yeah,
House books?
that was kind of the vibe, right?
Oh man, that was good.
Yeah.
I
So
think the only thing that I'm sad about is that it was not like with my stories where we would have like scuba dived, and then Steven would have fell in love like a mermaid.
I know, I know. I feel like our chat GPTs are slightly different in the thing,
Yeah, I think like because
but
the idea that I had with like my ChatGPT stories compared to yours is like we have a spiritual aspect to us, but what we're doing is more finding evidence and encountering these things. And you know what? If they're peaceful, we might just document them, but most of the time we're hunting, and
right.
we're like Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural, where we're gonna bag it and tag it, and we're gonna take this son bitch home. Like we're gonna take him down.
I might update my stories and try to make it more of that vibe as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's all I got,
Atlanta.
man. So City of Atlantis, did it exist? Did it not? Who
I
knows?
don't know. I don't know. I think maybe eventually we'll do a beyond the campfire Patreon episode where me and you actually go hunting for it. I say we actually go to all these different places and we actually we dive in the Bahamas and look at the Bohemian Road, and I say we go to Spain and we go to all these places to see if we can't actually see if we can find some evidence. I think
I
that'd
like,
be a really fun episode.
yeah, no, sounds great to me.
So yeah, I don't got anything else. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it. If you are listening to us for the first time, you can connect with us on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Just look up Beyond Campfire Podcast or at Beyond Campfire. And yeah, be sure to keep up with us and see what our future episodes are all about.
Yeah. And without further ado, I guess that's it. If you guys want to find Atlantis, it's a hotel and resort in the Bahamas.